moderator, let me thank you very much for that kind introduction. Ambassador de la Silva, Mama Inga, African Union commissioners, excellencies, distinguished participants. Let me first thank Her Excellency the Ambassador for inviting me to participate in this event. It's a great pleasure to do so, because this means that we're celebrating African Women's Day. It's an event that have not gained the kind of attention and participation as it should. And so I take a big thank you to all of those who've tried to reinvigorate this important event, bringing attention to women, the role they play all over our continent and the world. But today, the world faces its greatest threat in a century. A pandemic that has cost over 4 million lives, that has left millions without the livelihoods to exist, that has raised havoc with political, social, and economic systems. And as we seek the solution, we also know that this pandemic has exposed grave injustices and inequities, particularly those who are marginalized women. We also seek to address exclusion in a form of addressing this pandemic. Today, it is just not right that some of the nations of this world seek and have achieved vaccination for 80% of their population. And we look at the populations in lower and middle income countries and find, for example, in Africa, that we haven't yet crossed 2% of being able. We look at a situation in which the manufacturing of vaccines are all centered in a few countries in the north. And we seek to address that as another major inequity. But we must also recognize progress. And we know that many of our partnership countries are rising to the occasion to donate surplus vaccines. And we must applaud our own African effort. What is being done by the African Union through its patron, President Ramaphosa of South Africa, through Africa's entrepreneur, Strive Masasiwa, through institutions such as the African Center for Disease Control and its leader, Dr. John Ngasonga, major corporations like Mastercard Foundation supporting the strengthening of that institution to enable it to respond. And we applaud the effort that has started the partnership of producing vaccines in Africa through South Africa. We have to center on how do we redress these inequalities between men and women. We can only do it when women participate at the levels of decision-making, the level of authority and power where they can pass those decisions, where they can enunciate those policies that will enable them to address it. I looked today as I watched a video from Mozambique, and I see what those women are striving for to gain equality. Let me say thank you to Mama Gracia before I go any further for the effort that she has been making for interventions for Mozambican women to enable them to be able to achieve what they need to be able to get their dreams and their visions in place. It's a shame that today, after decades of African liberation, we have had only one woman to have been elected, democratically elected president. Having served, that void is still there. And so our work is cut out for us. We must start with girls as we seek change. Women should not have to make a decision whether a girl or a boy goes to school. We must ensure that all young children go to school to achieve their dreams, that they get the education that prepares them for life. We should ensure policies that women are able to have ownership of land. And I listened to the minister when she made the reference to all of this very well. Without access to land, our women farmers, our women marketeers, who are the more vibrant ones of our society, cannot be able to achieve their goals. As we respond to the health threats in the world today, we note that the majority of health workers are women. Over 70% of those that serve, and they serve taking the greatest risk as they try to save lives. There again, we need policies that will focus on them and ensure that they are recognized for their value, that they obtain the training that enable them to grow in their profession, that their compensations and the support that they need to carry out their work is enhanced. This is all not just a dream. These are possibilities. And while we recognize the progress that has been made for women participation, for women equity all over, including in Africa, we as sisters, when we leave this virtual room, must roll up our sleeves again and sum up the increased energy and courage and help to reset the world from a default for male power and authority to one of power with, not over, power to change lives shared between women and men. If we can't cast our eyes across the continent, and as we look, we acknowledge that there are leadership crises in some of our countries. Sometimes we think there are seemingly intractable civil conflict in many. And we also know that new ones have sprung up, most of which have been made possible by poverty and lack of equal access to resources. Armed militia and extremists have used these festering grievances for their own nefarious purposes. Our challenge is to continue to address them. to ensure that those Mozambican women we saw in the video have support to their leaders to ensure that they can address those conflicts. I've had my own leadership test in a joining that took a very long time. I inherited a country wrecked by a long and brutal civil war, with thousands killed, hundreds and thousands internally displaced or forced to become refugees. Infrastructure was destroyed. Liberian people were exhausted from the terror and torture of many years. And I credit my ascendancy and my success in elections, not so much to me and my effort, but to women. If the women of Liberia, supported by the women of Africa and the world, had not said that it was time to change leadership, it was time to introduce a new system of authority where women could give attention to those things that have affected women for centuries, I would not have won. And so they embraced my vision, and they gave me the courage to go out every day to tell the people that they could have hope, that their lives could be better. And I'm thankful that together we were able to deliver. But in the joining, there's nothing that says you will not face failure. I ran 3 times before I finally succeeded. And while in authority, I had a test with the Ebola crisis, a deadly disease that we had never seen before. Those were the days when, while I had all the authority, I had fear. Fear that I would not find the solution, that we would see too many of our people die. But as a leader, I had to help our women, our doctors, our nurses, our social workers who were dying, to go past their fears, to know that they had the support, to know that I was willing to set the example, to go into the villages, to go into the places, and to be a part of delivering what they needed so that they could have hope. And so because of that, together, we were able to defeat Ebola in record time, recognized today by the world. Again, I say I only did it because I had a team that supported me. And my whole journey has been subject to peaks and valleys. For action I took, for expressions, for challenges to policies. I was jailed twice. I had to flee my country during my first campaign for the highest office. I could not sleep in the same place. I had to move from place to place for fear that securities would be behind me. But I rose up and tried again. I accepted failure. I accepted difficulty. I don't want this to happen to women. And I don't want any other woman to repeat the experience of my joining. This is why we fight so hard today, for the equality that they need. This is why we demand the equity that they have long sought. And we as women must do what we can to support other women. That's what the men do. They make sure that when there's a position, whether it's a professional position or an executive position or a political position, they ensure that men remain those that have the authority in the society. We will not solve it tomorrow, but working together, I think we can support all the women who seek to ensure that their vision is allowed to be implicated in their society. And because of that, today, I could stand firm at the end of my journey. And my journey for political power was to hand over the reins of authority to my successor. But in so doing, I made a commitment that I will spend the rest of my life supporting other women, ensuring that other women on their journey could know that they could reach back. They could count on whatever I had, as small as it was, as limited as it may be, but they could count on me. And that's why I established the Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf Center for Women in Development. And we have a flagship initiative, which is called the Amuje Initiative. Amuje is one of our local languages, meaning that means moving up. And we've started to reach out to African women who are starting their joining, but who are committed to the ascendancy so that they can reach the levels of authority, ultimately, that they can reach their goals established by their strategy, their commitment, their work to achieve the visions that they have established. And today we are proud that although we launched only in March 2020, and COVID-19 in a way have caused us to dampen some of the activities we had planned, but we have 30 dynamic African women from 16 African countries that are on a journey where we think they will ultimately achieve their goals, that they will be able to one day be able to say, the journey was hard. It had difficulties, but I stood the test. I fought the race, and I won. That's why we keep working for them, because we believe in them. And we know that when they win, other women win. The nation wins, and the world wins. Let's all commit ourselves to that goal. Let's all say that after today, we will be a part of that effort and that initiative. We will hold up the hands of other women. We'll encourage and motivate them. We'll set the example, work with them. Thank you all again for the opportunity to be with you. Thank you, Mama Gracia, for all you do. Thank you, Minister and ambassadors and moderator. All of you have brought these women together. And I hope if we have some men, thank you too. We need the men too. We can't do it alone. We need your support. I hope the rest of your event is as exciting, as encouraging, as participatory as it has been so far. God bless you on your journey as we stand together to support women. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.